Hey y'all, it's Wesley with Southern Glitter Glam by Wesley, and welcome to my YouTube channel. For today's tutorial, we're actually going to be doing a recreate from Flynn Sisters Boutique. Alright y'all, so we're going to start with the Straight AF 20 ounce skinny from Mother Tumbler. Absolutely love Mother Tumbler cups. We're going to just take a sanding block. I use the 120 grit that I got off of Amazon. I'm just going to make sure that I'm sanding down the cup really well and making sure that I get the top rim and the bottom rim as well. This is going to make sure that when we get to the step of adding epoxy, that the epoxy has something to adhere to and it's going to last for a while. So once I get it sanded down, I'm going to take it to my kitchen sink and I'm going to wash it off with some Dawn dish detergent, and then it'll be ready for spray paint. For this cup, we're going to be using Rust-Oleum 2X Vintage Teal. It's a beautiful teal color. And you can see that I'm using my handy dandy spin and spray from TheBoanLLC. Alright, so once that spray paint dries for about 30 to 45 minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to apply the glitter using the epoxy method. And of course, we're using a little extra ink epoxy. So I'm going to just go ahead and mix up 5 ml just to make it easier for mixing. So I'm going to put 2.5 of A, and I'm going to heat my part A up with my heat gun. And then I'll add in 2.5 of B, mix it really good till it's crystal clear. And then we're going to be using glitter from Glitter Heart Co. And this is the color Waves. And I'm just going to take my mixing cup with my epoxy and kind of drizzle it on my cup and just take my hand and smooth it down. Now my cup has been sitting in front of a space heater, so it allows the epoxy to go on smooth like butter. And then I'm going to take my hand and just tap it around, and that's just going to marry in all of the epoxy and not leave streaks and lines in the epoxy. And then I take the glitter and put it in a mixing cup to apply it to the cup versus just going straight out of the shaker. It's a little bit more time consuming, but it does help to me save glitter. So we're only using one glitter color on this cup. So you can really kind of let it rip with the glitter. Just make sure you get real good coverage. Get it all over. And then of course make sure that you get the bottom of the cup. And then once we have really good coverage all over with that cup, I'm going to take my scissors and tap off any of that excess glitter. Then I'm going to take my cup with a regular piece of copy paper and I'm just going to roll the paper gently around the cup. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of pressure, but not a lot, because I don't want to shift any of the epoxy and the glitter because it's still wet at this point. But the purpose of this is to help ensure that the glitter is laying down. There's no extra shards. And I did learn this trick from Brittany Barnes' boutique. And look at that shine. Okay, so for cup number 2, we mix up another 5 ml of a little extra ink epoxy. And then I added in just a smidgen bit of marshmallow, which is from Glitter Heart Co. as well. And it is just an epoxy additive, and I just wanted to give some dimension to the cup and a little bit of undertone shine. And look how gorgeous. So while the epoxy is still wet, I'm going in with Unicorn Farts from Glitter Heart Co., which is a beautiful white opal chunky mix. And I'm just doing a waterfall effect with it and going maybe 3/4 of the way down on the cup. Not doing it heavy, not doing it thick, not letting it rip per se, but I just wanted to give the cup a little something extra. And then I'm going to take my finger and just pat down the chunky opal. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of lay it down. Then I'm going to let my cups dry for 2 to 3 hours, and then I'm going to seal it really good with 2 to 3 coats of clear matte spray paint. Then I'm going to mix up 25 ml of a little extra ink epoxy for each cup, and I'm going to do a first coat. And then 4 hours later, I'm going to go right back in with a second coat before I even take it off my turner. Each time I put a layer on, I'm going to take my torch and I'm just going to pop any little bubbles that may be there. So with a little extra ink epoxy, the 2 coats gave me a really good smooth finish cup, which is what you need. You want a smooth finish. So if it's still rough, go back in for a third. But what I'm going to do is tape off the top sections of the cup, as you can see, probably like 2 to 3 inches with some painter's tape. And then I'm going to spray paint with a white matte spray paint. I did end up going back in with a second coat of white matte just because you want a good full coverage towards the bottom of the cup. If you have a little mess up, there's one little spot where I kind of have a mess up. It's a-okay. We're gonna fix it. Don't panic on me. And if you have one, it's fine too, because it can be fixed, all right? What we're gonna do is just take off the tape off the top rim. And the reason that we tape this off is because we're gonna be taking off the spray paint like a geode distressed look, all right? And for one, I didn't feel the point in taking off an extra 3 inches or 2 inches, whatever it was, of spray paint that we didn't have to, okay? So that was the purpose of me taping it off. If you don't want to tape it off, you don't have to. I was just trying to save me time. But I'm going to take a inch chip brush with the acrylic paint. I'm using white acrylic from Arteza. You can use whatever brands you want to. You don't have to use Arteza. That's just what I had because I have the whole set of those. But I'm using the chip brush just because I want brush stroke effects, all right? The purpose of doing the acrylic paint is going to be harder to take the acrylic paint off than it is the spray paint. It's giving it a little bit more dimension and it's going to help with those brush stroke effects that I want at the top. It did take the paint 30 to 45 minutes to dry. I did this step on both cups, but then after the paint had dried, I went back in with a second coat on both of the cups. All right, so after that paint dried, I'm going to take a paper towel and some acetone, and I'm going to be rubbing all the way around the cup from where I had the top of the cup taped off because it has a really harsh paint line, and I don't want that. We're going to be removing it anyway. Remember, we're doing like a brush stroke geode look. So we're going to take it all the way off around, kind of loosen that paint up. And then once we're done with that, we're going to be going up and down all the way around, getting that look that you want. So there's no particular rhyme or reason or why. It's just whatever you're feeling and whatever looks good to you. Because what looks good to me may look a little different to you, okay? So just taking paper towel, once there gets a lot of paint on there and it starts looking kind of cloudy, just move to a different spot, and then you can take alcohol and rub off the paint, okay? So acetone removes, alcohol is going to help clean it up. So I just take the paper towel, going back and forth between the acetone and the alcohol, scrubbing some off, cleaning it up, scrubbing it off, cleaning it up, just till you get the effect and the look that you're going for, okay? So just if the spot gets a little worse, fold the paper towel around, get you a clean spot. You can also use a dish towel or rag if you want. I didn't want to do that. I just decided to just use the paper towels and kind of going up and down motions all the way around the cup, getting that really good brushstroke kind of geode look that I was going for. And I did this step on both cups, okay? So once I'm really happy with the look that I'm going for and I'm satisfied, I'm going to just take the clean part of the paper towel with just regular alcohol, and I'm just going to clean up any little bit. So we don't want any cloudiness or any paint left over. Next is the fun, messy part. So this is what it's all about, all right? Don't come at me when you try this because you've made a mess everywhere. I warned you guys. We're going to be using Tack It over and over to apply the gold leaf paper. And I'm using a chip brush. It's just the 1-inch chip brush again. And I'm going to be making small brush strokes up and down all around the bottom of the cup where the white is. All right, just kind of filling around, placing it where I want. So once I'm happy with the look that I'm going for and that I feel like where the gold flake brush strokes are going to lay, now we'll put the gold leaf paper on, okay? So these little gold flake sheets were from Amazon, and I'll link them in the description box below. If you wanted to use gold flakes instead of these sheets, if that's what you have on hand, you're more than welcome to do that. The flakes just give more of dimension to the cup, and I really wanted more of a smooth brush stroke kind of finish to this. So I'm just going to be wrapping the gold sheets around the bottom of the cup where the glue is, and then gently ripping it, well, rather pulling than ripping, because you don't want to just completely rip it off, but pulling the excess to where it's not glued down, pulling it up and then just kind of reusing it and placing it in the other spots where the glue is at. And I'm just going to work my way all the way around the cup and just taking off what I pull up. You can get new sheets. I'm just trying to use the one sheet that I had before I grab another sheet. But I'm just going to be going all the way around the cup where I have the glue at and just kind of gently pressing it down and then using my finger to just kind of smooth it out and remove any of the excess off, because this is just going to be a brush stroke look. It doesn't have to be kind of perfect. So we wanted to kind of have that distressed look. And I did put a little bit of glue on the bottom, so we're going to make sure that we cover the bottom up as well. And I did warn you, this step was messy. Once I smooth down all the spots where the glue was at and remove any with my finger, I'm going to take a chip brush and just gently go all the way around the cup and just brush downward and just remove any of the excess gold flake paper that should not be there, that's not got glue. And if you're not happy with the way it looks when you're done, you can put a little bit more tack-it down in the spots that you want and then apply a little bit more gold flakes. But we're just going to kind of clean it up to where we're happy with the way it looks. So once I'm happy with the overall look of the cup and where all the gold leaf is, I'm just going to take my finger and just gently smooth and rub down all the spots. And then it'll be ready for decals. You can either leave it like it is, or you could put a decal or sticker or whatever of your choice on it. For this, we're going to be using a clear cast decal from Gracefully Created. And I'm just going to apply it with like a hinge method. So I'm just going to be moving the back off and cutting some of it down. And then just kind of eyeballing to make sure that I have it just as straight as possible. If you wanted to do like measuring and making sure you were exactly even, you can do that. But I just kind of eyeballed it and winged it. So be very careful when you're using these clear cast decals to not touch the back of it, because it will show any little fingerprints or anything on it. So just making sure you get it just as smooth down and even as possible. So once that one's getting smooth, I'll go on to the next one. Now this one's not a clear cast decal. This is just a sticker decal from Gracefully Created, and it says fall vibes, and it's got some little leopard print going on, and I just felt like it was perfect for this cup. Alright y'all, so after decals, it's going to be ready for the final coats of epoxy. I mix up 25 mLs of a little extra ink epoxy for each cup. So 25 for one cup and then 25 for the other cup. I'm just going to make sure that I spread the epoxy on really good, making sure that I get the top rim and the bottom rim. I'm going to let that spin on my turner for 6 to 8 hours, and then I'm going to take it off my turner and let it sit for another 6 hours. After it is cured for 12 hours, I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and my sanding block. I'm going to sand down and clean up the rim, wash it off with some Dawn dish soap, and then I'm going to put it back on my turner and put one final coat of a little extra ink epoxy on. For that last final coat, I only am going to use 20 mLs of a little extra ink epoxy. I'm going to let that spin on my turner for 6 to 8 hours, and then it's going to be ready to go. Y'all, this cup was so fun to make. Look at the after effect, how gorgeous. I hope y'all recreate, and feel free to post in my Facebook group that I'll have linked below in the description box. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I love y'all.